All right, Mars Boston asks, what things do you think the Olympia can do to get more viewership/audience? Thoughts on the prize pool difference from classic to open? It's really simple, honestly. The number one thing that the IFBB can do is to get rights to televise this stuff. If not on ESPN, then Spike TV. It can be anything. Just get it on television. Barring that, if they can't manage that, why are they going through third parties? Why don't they just have it on their own IFBB website and stream all the shows from there? Or if they can't do that, if they don't have good enough servers, there's this thing called YouTube that we're all watching right now. Why doesn't the IFBB start their own official channel and post all the contests on there? It's fucking like brain dead obvious. I don't know why they don't do it. And for God's sake, start televising, broadcasting some of this stuff in 4K already. It's 2018. In terms of the prize pool difference from classic to open, that's bullshit because these classic guys should be making a lot more. Classic physique is now the second most popular division, I believe, in the IFBB. So the prize money should reflect that. So in my opinion, they should be making at least a quarter of what the open guys do. So that would be $100,000. Mike Sowden asks, have you ever met a top bodybuilder and who was the most genuine guy? Actually, I haven't because I've never been to an expo or anything and don't really care to because I absolutely hate lines. That's probably like one of my biggest pet peeves, and I just kind of refuse to wait in line, even if it was like to meet Phil Heath or Sean Roden or one of like the biggest names. I don't think I would do it because I don't really want to play that role of fawning fanboy. The only context in which I would actually want to deal with these guys would be to have an interview with them or something where I can ask more substantial questions and kind of dispense with that small talk, that fluff talk, and I think that's all you'd kind of get if you were to just talk with these dudes briefly at an expo or something. Lucas Medina asks, who is your favorite bodybuilder of this era? Man, you guys aren't going to like this, but I still got to go with Phil Heath on this one. I know he's been acting like a cunt lately in all his post-loss interviews, and his physique is not what it used to be, let's be honest. But I still feel like he's probably the most complete today. In terms of body part for body part, and he really was just amazing back in 2011 to 2013. That version of Phil could not be beat. But there are some other guys that I do admire. Dexter Jackson, although I consider him more like an old guard, more of a holdover from the 2000s as opposed to now, because I do feel like Dexter kind of hit his peak in the late 2000s. But modern guys that are up and comers, Rolly Winkler, I've always had a soft spot for that guy. Brandon Curry is pretty exceptional, and Cedric McMillan. Those would probably be some of my favorites competing today. Okay, Pawe asks, Tom, why don't you make more videos when it's clear that if you did so, your subscriber count would rise? Yes, I know it's a hobby. Well, like you said, it is just a part-time hobby for me. I do have a full-time job on top of this, so that's number one reason. Also, I feel like if I forced myself to pump out more videos, I could do that for a limited time, but it would only kind of establish this new expectation for all you guys that, oh, now he's pumping out videos every 2 days, so we're going to expect that going forward. So I don't want to set this bar for myself that I can't sustain, because that is too fast of a pace. I like to have a very good work-life balance, and I feel like if I forced myself to put out more content than I wanted to, I'd lose inspiration and I would burn out. So that's the number one reason. Plus, let's face it, bodybuilding is a slow sport. There's only really 2 big competitions a year in comparison to most other professional leagues like the NHL, NBA, NFL, where you've got games going on almost every single night and there's constantly things to talk about. Bodybuilding, other than the Olympia and the Arnold, it's just a series of small shows where maybe only 1 or 2 big names will enter, and it's not all that exciting. So thank God we have a very rich history behind the IFBB that you can delve into that, because without that, there'd honestly be nothing to talk about most of the time. All right, Nicholas Simmons, you mentioned that you were going to go on a cycle earlier this year but decided against it. What were your reasons for wanting to go on one, and what eventually led you to decide against it? Thanks. Yeah, so that's true, and this is interesting because basically the reasons that I wanted to go on it, I'm 31. I've been working out for over 15 years. I'm pretty much peaked in terms of my natural potential, and it's not going to get any better. At best, I'm maintaining now because I'm on the bad side of 30, and your natural testosterone levels are only going to drop from here. So that's number one. I feel like I would just kind of kickstart and renew my love for bodybuilding. And the reason I decided ultimately against it, believe it or not, it had nothing to do with the health concerns or financial aspects or anything like that. It was basically the payment system, okay? Because I had this shit all mapped out. I researched the hell out of it. I knew exactly what compounds I was going to take, how much, how often the dosage is. I had all my anti-estrogen, my post-cycle therapy all mapped out, and even down to like what size of needle you're going to use for the injections. Okay, so I did my homework, but then when it came time to actually buy this stuff, I'd found somewhere to buy it online. But to pay for it, man, this is black market shit. So you have to consider that. It's not like Amazon where you just go on and you can pay through PayPal or Visa and it's really quick and easy. No, this has to be done through like a credit union like Western Union, which I know nothing about, or through Bitcoin, which again, I know nothing about. So I didn't want to, it was just a hassle, and it ended up being the final obstacle where I was just like, this is too much, fuck this shit. Maybe later, and I probably still will do this at some point because, hey man, you only live once. Alex Constantine asked, why are you so bold? Do you like it this way? Yeah, I guess because I just feel like there's way too much political correctness going on these days, and it kind of sickens me. So I'd rather be honest and hated by some people than to sugarcoat everything and be liked by everybody. But anyway, trying to be liked by everybody is a fruitless endeavor because no matter what you say, no matter how sensitive, diplomatic, or politically correct you try to be, you're still going to end up offending somebody out there at the end of the day. So there's really no point in trying to please everybody. Fraser Williams, is it the freak factor seeing how far these guys push the human limits, or is it the art of bodybuilding that you love most? Definitely art, first and foremost, but the freak factor does have its appeal as well. Metal Hiram. Best quality fast food for bodybuilders? Probably like Chipotle or something like that, because it's hard to go wrong with rice, beans, lean meats, and veggies, right? But if you're talking about just pure protein and you're on a bulk or something, you don't care about extra calories, then something like Popeyes I think fits the bill, because you can get a lot of quality meat in terms of the chicken breast for very little cost. Annie Khatib. With the flawed ranking system in place in IFBB shows, what are your thoughts on a weighted pointing system? One where each pose can give you a different amount of points. For example, winning an ab and thigh would give you more points than winning a front lat spread. Yeah, I'm not really that big of a fan of this idea, honestly. I think that ideally all poses should be weighted equally, but in practice it definitely has seemed to be that the two back poses are worth more than the rest. Tyler Squanto asks, what are your interests and hobbies outside of bodybuilding coverage on your YouTube channel? Video games would be a big one. I'm pretty into Halo, as I already mentioned before, even though it's kind of a dying series, but I still have fun playing Halo 5 and Master Chief Collection now and again. Obviously, working out is probably my favorite hobby. At this point, it's really the only physical exercise I get. I don't really like doing a lot of cardio, and I don't play any sports anymore. I used to play soccer up until my early 20s. But once you kind of get a little bigger and you weigh a little bit more, it makes a huge difference in your agility. And just getting older, I constantly was like tweaking things, getting little injuries and shit. So it was really hard to kind of balance playing soccer and doing heavy leg days and shit because your legs are always sore. So I ultimately went with bodybuilding. But yeah, I also, aside from video games and working out, I like to read a lot, so mostly fantasy and some science fiction, but also a little bit of nonfiction here and there. Santi Anzo asks, do you consider that animals have the right to live their own life unmolested? Would you go vegan? I actually think that's a very valid point. Interestingly enough, I did go vegan back in the summer of 2007 very briefly when I kind of stopped bodybuilding for a little spurt there, just for ethical reasons, if nothing else. But ultimately, I just don't like vegetables that much, so I couldn't really make it work. I kind of became like a starchitarian, eating a lot of pasta and oatmeal and cereal and stuff like that. And it honestly wasn't that healthy for me. So if you don't love vegetables, then it's not going to work for you. And from a bodybuilding point of view, it's not optimal, let's be honest here. I mean, you're not going to be able to get as much protein as you probably should when you're breaking down muscle tissue. So I think that if you want to lift weights, then going vegan is not really ideal. Those two things don't really mix all that well. Chidera, what the fuck is that? Kameme? Okay, whatever. Also, do you think there was ever any year Kai was actually better than Phil to warrant the uncrowned Mr. Olympia title as fans love to give him? Technically, no, I don't think so. 2012 and 2014 were both very close. I actually think 2012 was probably Kai's best shape, but Phil was better then too. And 2014 is the year that a lot of fans point to, saying that Phil had a bubble gut. But I went back and I reviewed this show in depth already. I came to the conclusion that, Phil was still better. And it's not like Kai's midsection was picture perfect either. He had a lot of distension himself. Angry Panda asks, if you had the genetics for it, would you compete for the Mr. Olympia title? Love the content. By the way, the judging system kind of sucks, but it's probably like that so the judges can tailor the sport to their vision. Yeah, probably. So as to competing myself, if I had the genetics for it, yeah, maybe I would. But honestly, the drug game kind of scares me at that level. I mean, you're taking so much shit. You're basically like a walking chemical lab. And, I just think that there's smarter ways to make a living where you don't have to put your body and your life even in jeopardy. But then again, it would be pretty awesome to work out full-time as a job. Okay, Peanut Butter asks, how old are you? How long have you been training? And can you do a physique picture? Well, I've already mentioned I'm 31. I've been training for, I don't know, since about age 15 or so. And physique picture, probably not. I mean, I don't really see what I would stand to gain. I'd probably just embarrass myself because, like I said, I don't have the best genetics. I don't have that amazing of a physique. The ladies seem to like it enough, but by bodybuilding standards, by YouTube standards, no, nothing special here. I do plan on making a video somewhere down the line, however, talking about how to flare or pop your traps like Dexter Jackson, so I probably will show myself a little bit more in that one. Houston Gotti, what do you think about Nick Strength YouTube channel getting possibly sued by Phil Heath? $, signs. I think the whole thing is fucking stupid, to be honest. I mean, it's just like Phil's being an absolute dumbass threatening to sue because he has no case, and it only makes him look more guilty, plus juvenile for even resorting to this. So I think it's just really damaging his reputation even more. On the other hand, I can kind of see why he's pissed, because I don't really see the point in Nick covering it. I mean, what does this have to do with bodybuilding at the end of the day? This is just it's just like rumors. It's like TMZ level of trash, It's not really a bodybuilding related story. And, I put out some controversial videos myself where I'm speculating and, I might end up being completely wrong. But at the same time, everything I talk about is always related to bodybuilding. It's always about competition or training or something to that end, It's never, this is talking about, you're sticking your nose into somebody's financial business. Like, I don't really see why he would bother. So I think it's just dumb. A condescending. Best cutting tips. I'm the wrong guy to ask. Let me just tell you that because I've only dieted strictly like once in my life when I was doing that bodybuilding competition. I made a video about it already. And even then, I kind of half-assed it. So I don't really diet, I guy it, if you get what I'm saying. I mean, basically, an example would be, you can still eat burgers. You just don't get it with cheese and bacon and you skip the fries. Okay? Chidera, whatever, this guy again. What do you think of Kai Green as a bodybuilder? His physique, his constant prattling on about shit that don't make sense, his constant talk on not giving up and yet running away from the Olympia when it got tough, and now wanting to come back as Roden 1. Yeah, I think it's kind of a joke. I think it's almost a little hypocritical. I think that Kai's kind of full of shit a lot of the time. I do think that back in the day, Kai Green was truly inspirational. We're talking in his early days, like maybe 2009 to 2011-ish, 2012-ish. But I feel like suffering those 3 consecutive close defeats to Phil, well, 2013 wasn't that close, but 2012 and 2014, I think that really kind of broke him in a sense. And it really embittered him to the sport, to the politics, as he probably saw it, that are involved at this level at the Olympia. And I think it's a shame that he kind of stepped away. He walked away from and kind of gave up in a sense on the fans because we've seen his physique in social media. Like, he's still got a top quality bodybuilding physique, so he really should be displaying it on stage. Because he's only got maybe a couple more years left in this game. So I really hope that he does come back in 2019 and stops teasing all the fans. Okay, Adrian Brown asks, do you have a girlfriend or wife? No, but let's just say I do have girls that I'm seeing, usually always between 3 or 4, kind of on and off. So I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I don't really like being mutually exclusive and fully committed to one person. I find that difficult to do. I find it's a lot more fun and you get a lot more variety when you see multiple people if you can swing that. So I'm having fun kind of still playing the field. I know I'm getting older. I should probably think about settling down. But really, I mean, a wife and kids is not even on my radar at this point. So maybe one day. Jerry, not even going to try to pronounce that last name. Are you only interested in making videos about pro bodybuilding regularly, or are you thinking of expanding to making more videos about other fitness-related subjects? It's a good question. Probably not. I wasn't really thinking about branching out too much. I think I like this niche that I'm in. I still have lots of ideas for videos and stuff. So by no means have I exhausted the available content at this point. Maybe I might do some more training related videos where I feature professional bodybuilders and talk about their form and technique and stuff like that. But that's probably about it. But we'll see. You never know. Mo Harb asks, "How are you so eloquent? Grew up reading a lot?" Yes, my friend, I sure did. My parents actually read to me like pretty much every night when I was a kid, and I was always strong at writing for that reason. I had teachers I believe in grade 4 that couldn't believe that I had written something on my own. They thought my parents helped. In high school, I believe grade 10, my teacher called me out for plagiarism because what I did is I actually used some like obscure word like axiom or schism or something that I found in the thesaurus, and she didn't believe me. She thought I was stealing it from somewhere. She flunked me on that paper. So I've always been pretty strong with language, and yeah, my bookshelf pretty much speaks for itself. Gerald, a sniper, asked, "Do you think we are in a simulation?" Yeah, man, it's the Matrix. The machines have got us. Brian V, who do you find to be the most underrated bodybuilder for each division, or in general? Whew, that is a good question, my friend. Probably Ian Valier, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. I've heard different people say it differently. Steve Kuklo as well are both a little underrated in the open class. 212, maybe Samir Trouty. Classic, it's really hard to say as the division is still so new. Peanut Butter asks, "What movies do you like?" In terms of genre, I prefer action and comedies mainly. Pretty much the only movies I'll see at the theater are things like superhero movies, like the Marvel films, some Star Wars here and there, maybe a Mission Impossible or a Fast and Furious, that sort of thing. The big blockbuster shit that has all the nice special effects. Jordan Flips. This is going to be the last question, by the way, because this thing's already getting super long. I might even break this up into 2 parts. We'll see. Phil versus Jay. Who would win at their best and why? Wow, that is a tough one because these guys both came in like exceptionally crazy form a couple of years. Jay in 2009, I would say, was his best. Phil's best would have to be 2011 or perhaps 2013, one of those years. Who's going to win that comparison? Holy shit, man. I think, honestly, in practice, it would come down to who's the favorite at the time. So who's the current reigning champ? If it was Jay, I think that they would probably still go with Jay. If it was Phil, I think they would probably still go with Phil. So that's kind of cheating, though. If we're talking about, like, no bias, no political shit, then, I mean, Jay has the width. Jay's definitely going to win some poses. He's going to beat Phil in the ab and thigh. He's going to beat him in the front lat spread for sure. He's going to fare very well. He's going to be very competitive in the side poses. He might even take the side tricep because even though Phil's tries are better, Jay hits the pose more effectively. And he might even win the front double as well. So it's going to be so close. But I do feel that still Phil is more complete. He's more detailed. Body part for body part, he's better. And I think he's going to win the back poses, even though Jay was wider. So I would have to go with Phil. At his best, I think he could beat Jay at his best. But it would be super tight. So that's all for this one, guys. That's going to do it. And hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully this was entertaining at least. And I hope that you appreciate some of the video editing I put into this. That's something I'm going to try and do going forward to, like I said in that one of those first questions, to try and take my channel to the next level, because I feel like you can't just maintain the status quo. If you want to grow, you have to do something different. So I'm going to try and up my game going forward. So thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time, I'm the Tominator signing off, and I'll be back.